that will be around 10 o'clock tomorrow. So, if there's any change to that, we'll let everyone know. And of course, already I noticed some new cloth is there. Yeah, gradually the altar in the next few days will be transformed, updated. It's time for update. So that by Balaram Jayanti, uh, devotees will be able to uh, feast with their eyes on new altar backdrop, new dress for the deities, uh, and what else? Yeah, mostly those two things. So those who would like to come, if it will not be affecting your service or services, planning to leave from here at 8:15 by car will be going, and coming by 12:30, something like that. Krishna, we have our special mridanga player for Bhagavatam class. Otherwise, you can play all the time, except Bhagavatam class. Yes. So you're also invited if you want to come and chant your 16 rounds with all of us this morning. If you get permission from mommy and daddy. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Givada Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Girivara Hari Yashodanandana Rajadana Rangana Yashodanandana Rajadana Rangana Jamuna Tiravana Chari Jamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari. Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Damuna Tira Banamsari Jamuna Tira Banamsari Jaya Radha Madhava Kund Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kund Bihari Radha Madhava Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Gaura Pimanandi. Jai Vishupad Paramahamsa. Pri Vrajagacharya Stotra Satta Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace. Shirabai Charanaravind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Skanda Biti Founder Charyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Samavata Bhakta Vrinda ki Harinam Sankirtan ki Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Dainitai Gold Pimanande, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada ki. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksuranmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Scha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesha Badrishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed or practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Tamashloka Charitam Shakara Bhagavan Rishi Nisreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyayanam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Granthara, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim. Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to all of our guests. Maharaj is coming from
Odisha, Katak.
Katak. Jai. Haribol. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhu, you get one asana for Maharaj.
No, no, no.
Yeah,
That's okay.
it's not okay. Just visiting Mayapur.
I'm just staying 2 days and then I will return.
Okay. Yes, yes. So we are continuing from canto number 1, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 8, entitled Prayers by Queen Kunti. Yesterday, actually, we just heard the last of the many prayers, wonderful prayers, wherein Queen Kunti Devi is, in a very spontaneous and loving way, expressing her gratitude to the Lord, to Lord Krishna, who is about to leave. And some of the very famous prayers, two of them which come to mind. Yeah, today's text actually is, what is it? 40. No, I'm sorry. It's like 44. Yeah. Canto 1, chapter 8, text 44. So the two famous prayers that come to mind, the one where Queen Kunti Devi is recalling all of the different calamities that took place, and then praying to the Lord that kindly send more and more calamities so that we can always remember your lotus feet and take shelter. And of course, the other prayer we read just a few days ago, that let my attraction to your lotus feet be like the Ganges that is forever flowing towards the ocean without any hindrance. So these are wonderful prayers expressed by Queen Kunti Devi. And now we are at the verse where Krishna will respond. What is Krishna? Krishna has been hearing something like, I don't know, over 20 different verses of Queen Kunti Devi. And now today is text 44, what Krishna will be responding. 44, yeah, 44. Sutta uvacha pritayetam kala padai parinutakilodayah mandam jahasa vaikuntho mohayan iva mayaya sutta uvacha pritayetam kalapadai parinuta kilodayah mandam jahasa vaikuntho mohayan iva mayaya sutta uvacha pritayetam kalapadai parinuta kilodayah mandam jahasa vaikuntho mohayan iva mayaya sutta uvacha pritayetam kalapadai parinuta kilodayah mandam jahasa vaikuntho mohayan iva mayaya.
Sutta uvacha.
Sutta Uvacha
Pruthayetham kalapade.
Pritayetham Kalapadai
Parinuta khilodayaha.
Parinuta Kilodayaha
Mandam jahasa vaikuntho.
Mandam Jahasavai Kuntho
Mohaya nivamayaya.
Mohayan Ivamayaya
Sutta uvacha.
Sutta Uvacha
Pitayetham kalapadai.
Pritayetham Kalapadai
Parinuta kilodaya.
Parinota Kilodayaha
Mandam jahasa vaikuntho.
Mandam Jahasavai Kuntho
Mohayan ivamayaya.
Mohayan Ivamayaya
Suta uvacha
Sutta Uvacha
prathektam kalopadaye
Pritayetham Kalapadai
parinota kalodaya
Parinota Kilodayaha
mandam jahasa vaikuntho
Mandam Jahasavai Kuntho
mohonai vamayaya
Mohayan Ivamayaya Sutta Uvacha Sutta said Pritaya by Pritha Kunti Itham this Kalapadai by chosen words Parinut, Parinuta being worshipped Akila universal Udaya glories Mandam mildly Jahasa smiled Vaikuntha the Lord Mohayan captivating Iva like Maya his mystic power. Translation and purport by Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sutta Goswami said, the Lord, thus hearing the prayers of Kunti Devi, composed in choice words for his glorification, mildly smiled. That smile was as enchanting as his mystic power. Kindly repeat after me. Sutta Goswami said, the Lord, thus hearing the prayers of Kunti Devi, composed in choice words for his glorification, mildly smiled. That smile was as enchanting as his mystic power. Purport. Anything that is enchanting in the world is said to be a representation of the Lord. The conditioned souls who are engaged in trying to lord it over the material world are also enchanted by his mystic powers. But his devotees are enchanted in a different way by the glories of the Lord, and his merciful blessings are upon them. His energy is displayed in different ways as electrical energy works in manifold capacities. Srimati Kunti Devi has prayed to the Lord just to enunciate a fragment of his glories. All his devotees worship him in that way by chosen words. And therefore the Lord is known as Uttama Shloka. No amount of chosen words is sufficient to enumerate the Lord's glory. And yet he is satisfied by such prayers as the Father is satisfied even by the broken linguistic attempts of the growing child. The word Maya is used both in the sense of delusion and mercy. Herein, the word Maya is used in the sense of the Lord's mercy upon Kunti Devi. Translation again. Sutta Goswami said, the Lord, thus hearing the prayers of Kunti Devi, composed in choice words for his glorification, mildly smiled. That smile was as enchanting as his mystic power. So the word enchanting in reference to the Lord's smile upon hearing the very nicely composed prayers by Kunti Devi. Prabhupada elaborates on this uh, enchanting. It's also the concept of attraction, isn't it? Everything that we find in the material world is actually what Prabhupada refers to as a perverted reflection of what is actually taking place in the spiritual world. Attraction, everyone in the material world is naturally attracted and is also enchanted uh, by the illusory energy of the Lord, because it's what we call innate. It is built in. It is within us. It is the most natural. Uh, we could say tendency or urge. Urge is probably more accurate. All living entities have a natural urge and tendency and quality to actually become enchanted by something. It's actually a need that we all have, which is actually coming from the actual urge of loving and of being loved, isn't it? When that natural tendency of being, or the natural urge of loving and of being enchanted is misplaced, is uh, towards something different than Krishna, then it's a cause of entanglement in the material world, isn't it? All living entities have that natural. Um, ultimately, it's connected with desire as well, isn't it? That natural tendency, that natural ability. It's nicely explained, nicely expressed in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ultimately, the natural urge, that natural tendency is the tendency of bhakti, because love is actually bhakti. Krishna bhakti nitya siddha. Sadhya kabunoi sravanadi sutachite kura evudoy, as nicely mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And so nitya siddha is the eternal quality, eternal nature of all living entities. And here is nicely elaborated upon by Srila Prabhupada how those who are fortunate to come in contact with this knowledge of Krishna consciousness, they naturally turn that tendency and that urge towards Krishna, and in Prabhupada uses a few times actually, in choice words. In choice words means very carefully thought, just like Srila Prabhupada, he would explain, because devotees would would glorify Srila Prabhupada and and um, and thank him for the wonderful purports that he wrote. And Prabhupada would express, actually, I didn't write those. I didn't write those purports. Krishna dictated, you know. So Prabhupada uses, like in this purport and in so many purports, yeah, wonderful words, wonderful expressions. And that's one of the kaviraj, kavi, one of the qualities, natural qualities that is there, that we see here, wonderfully expressed by Queen Kunti Devi, and just glorifying her Lord, and such wonderful prayers. All of those prayers actually have become a book, isn't it? Prayers of Queen Kunti, which is very, very inspiring to anyone who wants to get a little glimpse of the heart of Queen Kunti Devi, isn't it? When we read, all the different bhajans here, the bhajans of the great Vaishnavacharyas, they're revealing their heart, they're revealing their sentiments uh, by choosing wonderful words, and thus composing wonderful prayers in glorification of the Lord. Um, and of course, because the Lord is unlimited, uh, there's no end in glorifying the Lord. And it is one of the wonderful ways that we can actually, just like here, the Lord, of course, He's always fully, completely transcendental, and His response is this small, mild smiling, because He's seeing, the very humble position that Queen Kunti Devi is taking, and she's expressing her fear that now you will be leaving us, we'll be alone, and Krishna knows that actually you're not going to be alone, uh, because although I will be physically going back to Dwarka, I'm always, isn't it, within the heart of my pure devotees, and therefore, this is the conviction that we are meant to to develop. Uh, that even though we can't maybe physically see the Lord, physically interact with the Lord is actually waiting for us to reciprocate, because He's physically, spiritually within each and one, each and every one of us. Just like actually yesterday, cell phones really take people away from Bhagavatam class, which is not good. Some other devotees on the way, okay. So, just like yesterday, actually, one devotee whom I'd never physically met, but who for the last maybe 15 years has been hearing about Varnashram. And it's amazing, actually, and he'll be coming later on this morning. I never met him, um, but he's been reading books in connection with Varnashram. He's been hearing lectures of Prabhupada speaking about Varnashram, and he, it's a whole story. Uh, anyway, I should tell a little glimpse of it, because it's like one of those, we hear about devotees Sankirtan stories, something very like unique and unusual. So his situation was similar to that, and but actually I won't relate the whole thing, but the essence of that example is that although we never physically met, and it's like, I don't know how many have, like Lord Brahma, he shakes hands with Krishna at one point. How many have shaken hands with Krishna? I mean, very rare for devotees to actually have darshan of Krishna. But it's not, the darshan, like Prabhupada explains, there is Vapu and Vani. So Vani is actually the thing. Vani is the most important. We can develop, and we are meant to develop that deep, very profound and intimate, connection and relationship with Krishna through his Vani. We can actually, and so this is also very, very, very central to the philosophy that Mahaprabhu has given us. Service in separation. Service in separation is actually higher, more intense, and more beneficial, you see, than actually direct service, because we sometimes can commit offenses when we're directly, serving the Lord. So, actually, the Lord, this is part of the wonderful pastimes, of course, in Vrindavan. The Lord actually leaves Vrindavan to enhance, isn't it? To increase, to help the devotees increase their loving relationship with Him, and therefore we are meant to develop our relationship. And relationship is not simply, it's like this devotee I mentioned yesterday. He already developed a relationship, although we never physically met. So we are meant to actually revive our relationship, our eternal relationship with Krishna. Even though it's been a long, long, long time since we've been with Krishna, isn't it? But it's only when, we are, all of us, anyone who's sitting here in Bhagavatam class, where we are attending Bhagavatam classes, we are associating with devotees, because we have some understanding that, by doing these things slowly, gradually, I'm reviving, isn't it, my original consciousness. And then as we do this, as we continue, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, we chant every day, Nastapare Sabartrishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. We gradually reawaken our original dormant love for Krishna. And then as the consciousness becomes more and more purified, then we develop this natural hankering to be with devotees, and we develop also this natural ability that Queen Kunti Devi is nicely displaying here, by expressing not only in words, not only we should be in words expressing our love and affection for the Lord, but we should be factually demonstrating, isn't it? And that is nicely explained, of course, in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, that whole wonderful series of verses that is practically culminating in one of the very important instructions that are there. When the mind becomes fully or sufficiently purified, evam prasanamanaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Wonderful verse the Prabhupada often quotes and refers to, whereby once we attain a certain level of purification that actually situates us in the mode of goodness, isn't it? Evam prasanamanaso, when the mind becomes peaceful, because we are fixed, we have become fixed in the mode of goodness, then we can nicely begin to engage in activities of bhakti, devotional service. And by engaging in this way in activities of devotional service, Krishna, who is within our heart, he knows our each and every thought, each and every feeling. Then he begins to reciprocate. Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam, because without this Vigyan, we cannot go back to Krishna. We cannot understand Krishna. We cannot offer the kind of prayers that are being nicely heard, that have been nicely composed just spontaneously, naturally, by Queen Kunti Devi. So therefore, as this is our process, as nicely explained by Srila Prabhupada, who is simply quoting from Srila Rupa Goswami, we have to nicely perform our sadhana. By performing sadhana bhakti gradually, slowly, we develop uh, steadiness in our practice of devotional service. We come to that platform of nista, which is that platform where we are steady, where our mind becomes peaceful, and we can nicely begin to perform activities of devotional service, which will which will enable the Lord actually to become practically obliged. The Lord becomes obliged to those who are endeavoring. Just like here, Prabhupada is giving a nice example of a small baby. Trying to, in broken words speaking, but it's most, that's there in the pastimes of Krishna also, pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The adults and the parents, all parents, it's natural, they become very happy, it's an impetus for exchanging, isn't it, loving sentiments, and that is where, and that is how we get inspiration. That is how we get satisfaction, because we're all longing and searching for this, isn't it? Prabhupada would explain how it is the birthright of all living entities to actually search out and have this need and this desire for ultimately for love and affection, and that the culmination of that finds its way in terms of loving, developing, reviving, isn't it, our loving propensity for Krishna. And the wonderful thing about this is what Krishna consciousness is all about. The wonderful thing is that this is not going to end. Rather, it will continue ad infinitum, eternally, to increase. And just like we hear how Krishna himself, isn't it? He's never satiated. Krishna himself he's attracted himself to this whole realm, actually, of bhakti or devotional service. And this is what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has introduced. And those fortunate souls from Orissa are very intimate associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And therefore, that's why people from Bengal visit Orissa, and people from Orissa visit Bengal. There's a intimate connection between the devotees from now it is Odisha. So this is what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given, especially to the residents of Bengal and Odisha, and he wants to give it to the whole world. Yeah. And that's where Prabhupada comes in. Prabhupada, in a very humble way, actually, Prabhupada was not at all imagining, was not at all thinking that it would fall on his head. That he was waiting, because Prabhupada joined after so many people, more senior to him in age, more senior in education. But and so therefore Prabhupada was waiting to see what's going to happen, and then he could understand, and of course this was further impressed upon by none other than his own spiritual master, who appeared to him in dream. No, you have to take sannyas, you have to do this, you have to take this mission, you have to spread this mission of our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu outside of India, all over the world. And now, of course, that miracle not only has happened, but continues to happen every single day. because anyone who actually hears this message from Bhagavatam, hears this message from Bhagavad Gita, hears this message from Chaitanya Charitamrita, if one sincerely must become inspired, and and by becoming inspired means must do something. Cannot just sit at home and, of course, can sit at home and write. There's so many things one can do, but one, Prabhupada mentions an amazing class he gives in Vrindavan. The whole series of classes on the nectar devotion, which are, so nectarine. I mean, the nectar devotion is like nectarine classes. Amazingly, in one of those classes, Prabhupada makes the following statement. When I heard it, I said, wow. He's telling about, yeah, I was inspired to preach. So I at the age of 70, I left, and nobody leaves home at the age of 70. Now we're beginning to understand what it means to become, age of 70 and whatnot. And then Prabhupada makes this amazing statement. He says, yeah, because I was inspired, I left, I went to America and traveled. He says, actually, before leaving for America, I did nothing. I was doing nothing. See, we know Prabhupada was not doing nothing, but in his very humble way was telling, compared to, traveling so widely and writing so many books and bringing so many people to Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada was feeling that actually before that I was just doing nothing, you know. So unless one actually becomes, and that's what Krishna consciousness is meant to do, is meant to inspire, isn't it? Utsaha. Prabhupada mentioned Utsaha, which is one of the basic principles mentioned by Srila Rupa Goswami, must be there for someone to actually practice Krishna consciousness, and especially to engage in preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we are primarily that meant to be in that mood, that preaching mood, actually. So when we read like this one and so many others, especially hear these wonderful poetry, then this is meant to serve as an inspiration for us to continue practicing Krishna consciousness in whatever way and in whatever form the Lord wants us to be engaged. Then we are, as Prabhupada nicely would say when he arrived in America, let me be like a puppet, make me dance as you please, right? So we have to become, we have to develop that mood and that mentality of simply becoming the Lord's humble servants, and He will make so many arrangements because He needs, as Lord Chaitanya, we're reading that chapter, how the Lord compares himself to a gardener, and he has so many fruits of love of God to distribute, and he can't do that just by himself. So he's calling, more and more people, please come and help me, like a gardener, who has so much work to do in the garden. So this is, yeah, there's a few more verses, not many, that will end this chapter here. So I'm reading the verse again. If there's any thoughts or comments, we can take a few minutes for that. The translation again, Sutta Goswami said, the Lord, thus hearing the prayers of Kunti Devi, composed in choice words for his glorification, mildly smiled. That smile was as enchanting as his mystic power. So any thoughts, comments, questions, objections? So Maharaj, how long have you been in Kathak?
Kathak, 10 years.
10 years, huh?
Before I was staying in Bhubaneswar.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I have not gone to Bhubaneswar for a long time, actually. So, Katak, so there's a temple there, I guess, huh?
Yeah, we are doing constructing the temple.
Oh, I see, okay. Katak is where King Prataparudra,
Yeah.
yeah, huh?
Cuttack is the capital of Odisha. Cuttack was the capital.
Was it?
After Cuttack, then Bhubaneswar.
Okay, yeah. We generally know more about Bhubaneswar
Yeah.
as being, yeah, but in those days, Katak was like,
Cuttack was the old capital of
yes, yeah. So King Prataparudra would come from Katak
Yeah. Cuttack.
to Jagannath Puri. Like that. Nice, wonderful.
And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to Puri on that way, Cuttack.
Correct. Well, is it?
Gadgadiya Ghat is there.
Yeah.
One Gadgadiya Ghat.
Is it in Katak that that whole Leela of Madhavendra Puri?
No, that Remuna Baleswar.
No, but from Rimuna, remember?
Yeah.
He left before the sunrise because he didn't want people to come and glorify him, and he ran away. He was on his way to Jagannath Puri, and then the news reached before he reached, and so yeah. Katak was you have to go to Katak basically to go to Jagannath Puri. Yeah. So you visit Mayapur sometimes?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah, of course. Wonderful. Yeah. So, yes.
Maharaj, according to Varnashram, in ISKCON also there are various aspects of serving, just like
There are various
aspects of serving.
Various aspects of serving. Yes,
Yeah.
fortunately.
In Varnashram, just like different aspects. Somebody can do book decision, some can do deity worship,
Yes.
some can have the eagerness to giving classes.
Yes.
So in Varnashram, is it only Prabhupada recommends just like Gurukul, these things, or every aspect, every way of serving that is okay?
Everyone?
Every way of serving that is.
Yes. I mean, there is, in as much as there are unlimited ways to glorify the Lord, there are unlimited ways to serve the Lord. And what generally is less, I would say, understood is that it's not that when we do something we give less importance to something else, isn't it? Like some devotees since the very beginning of the movement have been focused on book distribution because Prabhupada gave so much of importance, and it remains even to this day it's so important, that people get this knowledge, and it's one of the first of the 7 purposes that Prabhupada formulated, to systematically study and then propagate Krishna consciousness. So it's very helpful to understand Varnashram when we see it in the manner in which that Prabhupada presented it. Because ultimately, even those who distribute books can be part and will be part of Varnashram, because Varnashram is like encompasses everything, you see. So this has been nicely explained in maybe a less known work written by Srila Prabhupada called Gita Nagari. 1956, Prabhupada actually, in his Back to Godhead magazine, that's where he published his Gita Nagari essay. And in that essay, it describes how there are 4 phases that Prabhupada calls 4 movements. The first one, he mentions, he gave a name to each phase. The first phase, he called it Sankirtan movement, meaning the holy name in books, in that context. The second phase, he called temple worship movement. Temple worship movement means establishing temples. You're doing that in Kathak. And the third phase, he called it spiritual initiation movement, which means developing congregation. It's like, we can see there's a natural sequence. First, you go out and chant Hare Krishna. Then you get some attractions. I mean, people become attracted. What is he doing, especially in the Western countries? Maybe in India less. And then books also. And then you need a place, a temple. And the third phase, when people come, you have to cultivate and train them in Krishna consciousness. So that's why spiritual initiation, so they can become serious and committed by taking Diksha initiation and becoming part of Krishna's family. The fourth phase, which has yet to manifest, The fourth phase, Prabhupada coined it as classless society movement. Classless society movements, which means that actually everyone within the four varnas and ashramas, being all aspiring devotees practicing Krishna consciousness, we're all servants. We need to develop that mood in the mentality. When that is absent, then that becomes asuric varnashram, impure varnashram, isn't it? Yeah. So that is the meaning of Daiva Varnashrama, where all the activities of book distribution and chanting the holy name and opening temples will continue, but we add this fourth dimension, which is actually how Vedic culture is agrarian-based culture, village-based culture, cow-based culture. Prabhupada mentioned also in our villages, in our farms, we will go by bullock cart, east, west, north, and south, and distribute books and induce people to chant the holy name. So all of these things are meant to go on at the same time, but our kind of like shortcoming is that we have primarily focused on the first three, and we have yet to actually develop as it is meant to be developed, this fourth aspect, because introducing Krishna consciousness in the world means introducing Vedic culture. And Vedic culture is a village-based culture where the majority of people are meant to live actually in villages, which will more easily, more naturally enhance their practice of Krishna consciousness. So Varnashram is simply, it's Krishna's system. It's created by Krishna. Therefore, it's a perfect system, which is especially for those who are still connected with the modes of material nature. And I'll just finish on this point here. Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions in his Sojana Toshani, one of many writings, he mentions how Varnashrama is that system for the Vaishnavas in their conditioned state. It's not that the first day we pick up a bead bag, we become a Paramahamsa.
No.
You might have noticed. We may be practicing for so many years, or even for so many lifetimes. So therefore, Krishna has created that system to facilitate actually our advancement in spiritual life. So it's gradually, anyways, like everything else, unfolding. It's nice to hear that temple will be coming up in Cuttack, for example. So it's all part of, Prabhupada's and Mahaprabhu's plan for gradually introducing at different levels Krishna consciousness, so that more and more people can become connected. Okay.
But Maharaj, ISKCON how it's focusing on the way, just like Gurukula developing community in the village.
Whether ISKCON has a focus?
Yeah.
You're asking?
Yeah.
Okay. I won't give another class, but we have a ministry in India, and there is an office right here in Mayapur that is called IDVM, ISKCON Daiva Varnashram Ministry, and the co-minister he was on a 2-month tour. He just arrived yesterday. His name is Vinny Gopal. You're leaving today, is it?
No.
You're here for you. Since you're asking questions about Varnashram, you should try to meet him or visit the office. The office is in the long building, Chakra building. The long building, we call it the long building because it's a long building. And it's room number, I think, 137. But it's only in India. It's only in India where there is where there's a ministry. It doesn't exist in other countries, and so there's a lacking. And there's a very important book. You can get a copy of it. It's called Speaking About Varnashrama. 100% different statements and purports from Srila Prabhupada on the subject matter, because it talks about education, it talks about Gurukul, it talks about economics, it talks about cows, it talks about land, it talks about everything ultimately. So you can get that book. It's already translated in different languages, and somebody like you, or maybe with the help of others, should translate that in Odisha language also.
Really.
That's why you've come to attend Bhagavatam class here this morning. Anyways, thank you all very much. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam
Ki
Ki.
jai.
Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Maharaj.
Ki
Yeah.
jai.
My God, what's going on there?
Some devotees have come.
Oh, your friends, eh? Yeah. 6:55.